I'm Carmen Vida, and I'm an objects conservator. I have been working for the Entanglements project, and I'm normally based at the Conservation Labs at University College London. One of the objects collected by Northcote Thomas that we're working on is this Akh'Olokun pot. We know that Thomas bought this pot in Benin in 1909, and pots like this Akh'Olokun pot are decorated, and they were normally would have contained water and medicines and be ritually active to be placed on shrines dedicated to the deity Akh'Olokun. Now, unfortunately, the pot was broken. We don't know exactly when. It may have been broken in transit from Nigeria to the UK, or it may have been broken at a later stage of its museum life. And it was also repaired. And again, we don't know exactly when it was repaired. The repair wasn't particularly great. So as part of the Re-Entanglements project, it was decided to undo that earlier repair, to then deconstructing the pot into its components and fragments to put it back together, but this time using contemporary conservation methods and materials. Doing a ceramic reconstruction is always like a 3D jigsaw puzzle. But in this case, it was a really complex jigsaw puzzle. So I had to understand the order in which I had to adhere the pieces so that I wouldn't lock myself out of any particular piece. Once I started putting the pot back together, one very important thing is getting the alignment of the pieces right. Because in a pot like this that has suffered quite a lot of abrasion and losses to the edges, you can fit a piece in many different angles and in many different ways. And I had to ensure that I got that alignment correct, because otherwise, as I would move up on the pot wouldn't fit. And that meant doing lots of what we call dry runs, where you basically put the pot back together without using adhesive. And then you bring it down again once you know the correct angle for a particular piece. And then you stick that piece. And then the next stage that I had to address was the gaps. There were gaps along the joints, so on the cracks. There were also losses to handles and to areas of the pot. So a decision was made curatorially and also with input from me as a conservator on how to approach that gap filling, which was, let's do whatever is safe for the pot structurally, whatever will make the pot stable and safe. And when doing fills, again, there was an interesting discussion going on there as to the level of invisibility of the fills. Did we want to make the repair look invisible? Did we want to make the pot look as if it had never been broken and hide that bit of its history? Or did we want to not hide it and show, yes, it was broken, but at the same time get that balance right between showing the history of the pot and allowing anyone to view the pot as a whole. So it's a matter of getting to the right spot where you're kind of disguising the fill when you're looking at it from a certain distance, but you're not disguising it if you look at the pot at a close distance. Working with objects as a conservator, you sort of create a relationship with the object that is a very close one. For me, conservation is a lot about narrative. We are creating a narrative from the point in which we start understanding an object in its makeup, in its technology, in its materials, to the point at which we have received that object and we have to do something with it. And the narrative continues into the future because I have to make decisions as to, I'm the next stage in the history of that ceramic. I am not a neutral agent there. I'm not taking it back to what it was. I'm creating something new with what I've been given. And therefore, I have to make decisions based on that history to carry on that history of the object. As a conservator, I have to make choices and the next stage in the history of that pot. I'm not a passive agent. I'm not neutral. I am doing things to it and making decisions as to how to put it back together, how to fill the gaps. Those fills will become part of the history of the object and part of its visual history as well. So I'm an agent in the history of the Akh'Olokun pot. But I'm hoping that I'm not a disassociated agent, that I'm an agent that at least is trying to be aware of the different stories and histories of the pot